What's this? A mistake made by the GOAT? Ay, 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 ay. He meant to say GLGL and instead he said GLLG. Spotting right here in the top right corner of the map. Playing with the blue Zerg drones, we have the man who really doesn't lose in the Zerg versus Protoss matchup, and he goes by the name of Serral. His opponent not responding to this terrible error, playing with the red Protoss pieces. We're looking at none other than Harstem's main NEXUS. Harstem not gonna go, okay, yeah, not gonna go for an early game scout and not even sending the probe out after the gateway. This is one of those scout timings, so either he doesn't scout at all or he scouts after the cybernetics core goes down. This is one of those scout timings that's technically speaking very risky for Protoss, especially if you do this on the ladder. I really don't recommend it because the odds of your opponent cheesing, they certainly are pretty big, right? Say for example it's a 12 pool, you just sort of lose. Now I personally 12 pool quite a bit as Zerg against Protoss, mostly just... Maybe I try to justify my actions, okay, but I mostly do a lot of 12 pools against Protoss because maybe 1 in 3 games my opponent does still go for like a proxy gateway rush or a cannon rush or something along those lines, and you just kind of auto-win against those builds with a 12 pool. But if indeed it is going to be a cybernetics core scout, which is what Harstem decides to do here, you're also in a very good spot as the 12 pool player. Now, in this particular case, Serral is not going for the fastest spawning pool in the game. Instead, he's decided to go for a hatchery into a gas geyser and then eventually a spawning pool. I think this is quite clever here from Harstem. It's the little things that add up over the course of a game of StarCraft 2. He's saying, yo, if this was early game cheese, I would be in a lot of trouble. But what really are the odds of Serral going for such early game cheese, right? It's really out of character, especially if it's a series. He doesn't really do it until he's at least like 2, maybe even 3 games up, right? So I don't even remember, honestly, the last time I've seen Serral go for a spawning pool at 12 supply. So, nice little corner cut right there for Harstem. He decides to go for a quick Stargate. Stargate opener, of course, the go-to standard in this particular matchup. Serral at this point will have already noticed that it's likely going to be a Stargate. So the way you can spot that as a Zerg is by seeing what's coming out of the gateway. And secondly, also the timing at which that cybernetics core starts spinning. So you notice right now, yeah, I guess the middle bit right over here is spinning back and forth. These things are, I don't know, they're moving around, okay? They're pulsating a little bit more aggressively. It means that something is being researched, and Serral must have noticed, okay, nice little block right over here of the third base. Serral must have noticed that it did not start spinning as soon as the structure finished up, and that pretty much always means it's gonna be a Stargate opener, as Serral's gonna try and sneak away here with the drone. Cheeky, cheeky. Will Harstem be able to find the worker? Nah, he's making the assumption that that drone is headed on over to the gold base location. Instead, the worker is heading off towards the right side. Serral has already made another hatchery here as well on the left. Alrighty, avoid ray first. This is something that I recommend you avoid. Lowko, you're so funny. I'm gonna hit the like button. Thanks, guys. This is one of those things that is, again, technically speaking, not the best move you can make. But it is something that can deal damage because it's pretty uncommon, right? So most of the time, at least in my mind as a Zerg player, whenever I see somebody opening up with a Void Ray first, I assume they're trying to hide something. Doesn't seem like that is the case here for Harstem. Instead, he's just going to go for an Oracle in the back it is. He's going for a quick third Nexus, so no quick Twilight Council or anything along those lines. I guess the Void Ray is just here to kill a bunch of Overlords. Skipping that first Overlord in the natural, by the way. Oracle now available as well. Yep, it is going to be enough here to push back those Zerglings. Honestly, not a good start right here for Serral at all. So this OV right now has killed he's killed one thing. He's looking for another Overlord here, and he's going to be able to find it. And then eventually, I think that a Void Ray is going to be able to turn back around and take down that Overlord over at the third. You know what, guys? As I'm casting this game right now, I just realized I'm getting massive deja vu, and that's because I've already casted this particular match. No way, I was gonna say, I've seen this. Okay, this is game number 1. Yes, this is game number 1 between Harstem and Serral at HomeStory Cup. I was gonna say, I have seen this exact opener before, and Harstem also did send that Void Ray towards the other side of the map. Okay, this is a much recommended game for me, or to me rather, and I've kind of forgotten that I've already seen this. Alright, shouldn't really matter all too much, but I figured I should probably let you know, because that that's kind of nutty. So he got 3 Overlord kills. I was going to say, I've just seen this before. And so far, Harstem really hasn't lost anything other than that one pylon that he had to cancel over at his opponent's third base. Fourth hatchery is coming up right now for the Zerg. Okay, yeah, he decides to target fire down the Overlord. Probably could have gone after the hatchery itself. Might still be able to get it. Queens are running on down towards this location. I was gonna say, dude, that just blew my mind. I blew my own mind. Quite impressive, really. Or pathetic. However you want to look at it. He decides to target fire down one of the queens so far. Nice little bit of movement here by the Protoss. Okay, gets a queen. Honestly, fantastic start right here for Harstem, though. Don't lose the Void Ray. Now, Harstem! Harstem! Ah! Okay. Well, apparently that's all we needed. I mean, to be fair, though, that one Overlord did already pay for itself, killing 4 Overlords, killing a queen, and, well, also at least softening up the hatchery. I think it could have killed the hatchery itself as well, but anyways, these Zealots are gonna try and finish the job. Harstem following this up with a quick charge research. Okay, is he gonna be able to deal critical amounts of damage? I don't remember all the details in this game, but it just occurred to me that this was something I've already seen before. Yeah, I really like that move, actually, that Harstem did with that Void Ray, where he first sent it across the map. So what we very frequently see, so we do have a Spire follow-up right now, by the way, from Serral. What we very frequently see is Protoss players just going for the easiest target first. But the problem is, if you kill that Overlord close to home, the rest of the Overlords are immediately gonna fly back, right? And what ended up happening there is that Harstem ended up, well, dealing way more damage than he should have been able to. So this is a really good start right now for the Dutchman. Dealing a lot of damage, scouting out that Spire, seeing the lack of gas over at the third base, so it's not going to be a super committed Spire. And he might even be able to kill this hatchery here as well on the back of this. Well, assuming we at the very least keep these units alive, yeah. The Archons are certainly the most important things. Okay, so Harstem has decided to go for a Phoenix. This is scouted as well by Serral, so despite the fact that Serral does have the Spire done, he doesn't actually, Yeah, so I think what happened to this game, guys, I now remember exactly what ended up going down. This was one of the very first games of HomeStory Cup that we casted, and the casting setup that we had was not quite optimal yet, so I remember that the preview monitor was very far away. This is one of those things that tournament organizers pretty much always get wrong. I mean, I don't want to be a jerk to tournament organizers, okay? They're obviously trying their best. But very frequently it happens that as a commentator, you either can't see your monitor properly or the screen that you're supposed to cast off of is like, you know, 10 meters away. It is very far away. The television can be very big, but if it's far away, you can't really see the minimap. And I think this is one of those series where we weren't quite dialed in with the setup just yet. Oh, a couple Archons here, misrallied. That's a little bit of an unfortunate problem. He does save one of them. Yeah, because I remember just now that I thought, while casting the game, that this Spire wasn't spotted because it was in the natural expansion, but it's over at the third base instead. So this is why this is why I'm remembering. Alright, 12 Mutas eventually do come up. So this is a delayed Mutalisk attack right here from Serral. I don't think that's really something Harstem should be too concerned with, but it is certainly something that can catch him off guard. So he's going double static defense over here at the fourth base. He already does have, yeah, quite a bit of static done already too. Photon Cannon coming up in the natural. I really like this current position right here for Harstem. The question is, how much damage can those Mutalisks deal? Serral did decide to double down onto the +1 flyer upgrade as well, so these 14 mutas, they're going to be able to pack a punch, and maybe it's not really something you expect anymore at this point in the game. There's the +1 arrow weapons coming up, second Stargate as well. We really should see some continued Phoenix production. Oracles in the meantime trying their very best to just keep track of wherever that Zerg army is moving. And here come the Mutalisk. Yeah, this is the first time I believe that Harstem sees it. And this can still be such a disaster, even when you're prepared for it. It's still so easy to accidentally mess up. So that's already 10 probes going down. Phoenixes, of course, do outrange mutas, and they can move and shoot at the same time. So with good control, the Phoenixes, technically speaking, can kill all of these mutas relatively easily. It's just that there's a lot of other balls to juggle right here for the Protoss, and focusing all of their attention just on the Phoenix micro is much easier said than done. Alrighty, in the meantime, Serral, knowing that of course as well, decides to distract his opponent here by pushing towards the right side of the map. Phoenixes did get disengaged here from the Mutas, but so far, these Mutas really haven't achieved that much. 10 workers, sure, but Mutas are also not the cheapest unit in the game. Okay. I like this position here. A lot for the Protoss player. We see a lot of games that Serral plays where at this point in the game, it's already essentially over. 10 minutes in, how many workers has Serral really killed? It's 12 probes, sure, but that's not really all too much. Only 8 drones killed as well by Harstem, which is nothing all too crazy, but he did end up killing that queen. He has, well, slowed down his opponent's advancement, right? Like, with a Void Ray first opener, you can't really rely on getting a ton of worker kills. I think 8 is probably about the best case scenario. There's the Fleet Beacon coming up. We have the Greater Spire also morphing in. Adrenal Glands coming up here for our Zerg. Alright, at this point, yeah, I think Harstem roughly knows what's going on here as well. He must recognize that this is likely going to be a Greater Spire transition. 4 Zealots here on the right side of the map do force the cancel on that base. In the meantime, Zealots on the left do get cleaned up, but Harstem is ready to go for a big attack. And this is a wonderful moment here for the Protoss player to move out, because this is right before Zerg gets to a position where they can properly counter this army. Now we have, okay, about 50 Banelings here. That's a lot of Banelings. But this is a lot of Archons as well. And as we all know, Archons do like to eat Banelings for breakfast. This is still such a big Zerg army though. Serral would prefer if this fight is over in about 3 seconds time, at most. The longer that this fight happens, the more shields are going to be able to regenerate, so he probably wants to crush this force. Okay, Banelings over here in the front do roll into a bunch of Archons. I'm not in love with that attack. Then again though, a lot of the Protoss units do end up dying here. Archons a little too grouped up together. Now the Brute Lords are out. That was a very delicate defense right there for Serral. But I think it's okay. Yeah, he decides to reinforce this with Massling. So keep in mind, they will have Adrenal Glands at this point. Harstem decides to go for, yeah, just a more slowed down army here on the back of this. So rather than focusing on a ground-based force, he's now going for air-based units here instead. It's only 4 Brute Lords, but 4 Brute Lords, yeah. I mean, at the very least, the Phoenixes can force those Brutes to stay at home, but 4 Brute Lords really can make short work of a Archon, Stalker, Zealot, Immortal-based army. Okay. That was almost a disaster, though, for Serral. Yeah, if that fight would have gone any differently, if those Archons were split up ever so slightly more, if we maybe weren't fighting on this ramp, right? And those Banelings couldn't maximize their splash damage, I think that Harstem would have been able to win the game right then and there. Anyways, at the very least, the fight would have looked a lot better. He's going to be able to transition right now towards a Skytoss-based army. There's the +3 ground weapons, though, coming up on the back of this, too. Zealot here, holding that wall. Honestly, man, I'm so impressed with the way that Harstem has been playing this game lately. I don't really know exactly what he's changed about his practice regimen, but he clearly has stepped it up. If you would have shown me a game between Serral and Harstem, even just like 3 months ago, and I don't mean any disrespect towards Harstem whatsoever, but I think he would have gotten wrecked. He is very good at the game, but in my mind, Serral is like the 9-1 favorite, or maybe even more than that. I mean, Harstem will probably agree with this as well. I don't remember the last time Harstem has won a series, or maybe even a game against Serral. Serral is just that good when it comes to playing StarCraft 2, and I really feel like not that long ago, Harstem would have gotten absolutely demolished by Serral, but it's clear that Harstem is on an upwards trajectory over here. He's doing a very good job playing the pacing of the game right. I think that's where a lot of Protoss players go wrong. They either, okay, aggressive blink into the Stalkers, or into the Banelings right there on purpose. I think where a lot of Protoss players go wrong is that they either transition towards Skytoss too early or too late, or they don't attack at the right point, or they, like, you have to read the pacing of the game, you know? And that timing that Harstem attacked at against the Brute Lord transition was pretty much flawless. Despite the fact that everything has been very messy and very chaotic, it's clear that he's still mentally prepared to, like, make the right decisions. And that, if you've played a lot of StarCraft, you probably... Oh, That's the money storm right there. What was I saying? Right, if you've played a lot of StarCraft 2, you know that how easy it is to be in over your head, right? So you're playing a game, no cancel there, that kind of sucks. You're playing a game, right, and you're just busy putting out fires. That's kind of what it feels like. You're like a fireman and you're just trying your very best to make sure you don't die, right? But just making sure you don't die, just playing the survival game, is usually not enough to win. You gotta also attack at the appropriate moments, and it's very easy. I see that all the time whenever Protoss players go up against Serral, that they are overwhelmed and that they just hit, well, none of their timing windows. Not the case here for Harstem. Doing an excellent job going toe-to-toe with the man who's considered to be the greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time. And at the very least, the very best Zerg versus Protoss player of all time. Some people will debate whether or not Serral truly is the GOAT. Although, in my mind, there really isn't a whole lot of debate anymore, but... anyways, people love to debate, but his ZVP or win rate has been through the roof for years now. Now, one problem that Harstem is running into is that, yes, he did force his opponent to expand towards the left, and Serral is fully embracing it. There are two rich Vespian geysers over here in the top left-hand corner. Remember at the very start of the game when Harstem blocked his opponent's third base? Serral's basically been gobbling up the top left-hand corner of the map ever since. Yep. I forgot about this move. This is a beautiful move, actually, by Harstem. One of the... This is actually super sick. So, this is a macro Nexus. I think that's what we can call it. So, I asked Harstem about this particular Nexus later on, and I think it's super cool. So, here's the strategy, okay? He wants to siege this gold base. Denying that gold is the absolute key. Serral right now sees as well that that is what's going on. He sees the High Templar a little bit exposed. There's the cloaking field activated by the mothership. So Harstem manages to keep these units alive. Wonderful work. He's got these Tempest. Tempest can shoot at a very long distance. However, they're also quite exposed. So what Harstem is doing is building static defense in the middle of the map, building a Nexus right next to it too, so he can battery overcharge these shield batteries. Super cute little move. The idea is that this Nexus is never going to properly mine out, or this Zerg Nexus over here, this hatchery. I can't believe I forgot that I already casted this game. This is one of my favorite games actually that I've seen over the last, well, couple of weeks at the very least. Maybe even the last couple of months, but I've seen a lot of really great games over the last couple of months. So I know I kind of try to one-up myself all the time. People call me out on it, right? I upload about 10 games of the year each year. Sorry. The clickbait potential is just through the roof, guys. But yeah, this is a really sexy play right here from Harstem. How do you fight this as a Zerg? You really don't. That base, especially once the tectonic destabilizer upgrade finishes up. So that's the double damage output for the Tempest against structures. Once that's done, life is gonna be very difficult, yep, for the Zerg, and that base just absolutely gets destroyed. Really cute play right here from Harstem. I love it. In the meantime, though, we do have a push over here as well on the left from Serral. So Serral has been gobbling up all those resources in the top left-hand corner. He probably is even thinking about going for that base over there in just a moment. Normally, that's one of the easy bases to acquire for a Protoss player in this spawn location, but you can see that Harstem is very much so focused on getting all of the right side of the map gobbled up here instead. He's actually heavily oversaturated, though. Yeah, these probes really need to move. He really needs to make another base here, but this one pesky overlord has now successfully delayed a Nexus by like 2 minutes. Alright. Serral going for a little bit of tech everywhere. He's got Brute Lords, he's got Ultras, he's got Infestors. The only thing he doesn't quite yet have is Vipers here, and I feel like Vipers would be an excellent addition right now to this Zerg army. Yeah, I think Serral considering this base would be a very good choice. Because it's gonna be very tough for Harstem to take both this expansion over here, as well as the one all the way on the left side. Like, splitting up your units at this point in the game as Protoss is not easy. It's doable, but it's not easy. One thing Serral has been doing as well that you may have noticed already in this game too, rather than just doing like a Zergling run by, he's going for like a Zergling Lurker, Roach. Like, he's sending like a combination of units towards the left side of the map. Now we're gonna go ahead and send the Brute Lords apparently in that spot. So this is something that you couldn't do in the past with Brute Lords. And it's still a very risky move, but they're much faster now than they once used to be. So Harstem also forced to dedicate quite a chunk of his army. This is something that Serral must have spotted a little bit ago. Yep, and he's gonna start harassing these ground-based units with the Brute Lords here instead. Probes decide to sacrifice themselves to open up more supply for more army units. Nexus over on the right side is being acquired. Zealots here charging towards the left, but they're not really going to achieve that much. Looks like, I think we had a recall right here on the Tempest. And now I think we have a mass recall as well towards the Mama ship. Exactly what's going on. Alright. Nice sequence of events right there for Serral, though. Doing an excellent job. Getting efficient trades, killing a bunch of Archons, Immortals, and also sniping a few of those Tempest. Is there enough for Protoss to push forward here? Not quite. Brute Lords are caught all the way on the left side of the map, and they really are needed over here instead. Another opportunity right here for Harstem. Genuinely, though, I don't know what Harstem has changed recently, but he's playing so much better. You love to see it. Like, this is actual top-tier Protoss gameplay. He's always been good, but I really feel like he stepped it up. Okay. This is a scary fight, though. Serral decides to commit here. Archons try their very best to get underneath. Storm once again ends up going down. A lot of the Lurkers and Brute Lords here are dealing damage, though, to, yeah, that Archon Immortal ball. Tempest once again flying forward, and now we have the carrier transition. Very cool. So ultimately, this trade here, maybe not the most cost-efficient one army-wise for Protoss, but Harstem's main goal is to deny this gold base and to mine out both of these bases here himself. He really should take the gases. Not sure why they aren't taken yet. Serral is recognizing the situation that he's in, and he decides to steal one of the bases that would ordinarily beat the opponents. Super easy base normally to acquire for Protoss, because this is just north of their natural expansion. But the way, with the way that this game has been progressing, though, Harstem has been focusing all of his efforts on the right side of the map instead. Okay, time warp over here. I love the Mama ship movement as well. I think what Harstem has changed recently is he's not really been streaming much. Maybe that's the play. Don't stream, man. Maybe that's the reason I suck at playing StarCraft 2, you know? I've peaked in the past at like 5.5k MMR or so, which is pretty decent. Maybe if I didn't stream, you know? Yeah, that's gotta be it, right? That way I don't have to take responsibility. Perfect. That works for me. No, but seriously, this is proper gameplay here. Okay. The problem, though, for Harstem is that his strategy is working out decently well. But we're getting to a point where he kind of has to mine out the golden base of the Zerg himself. He's bleeding out one too many units. Like, I've had this on the screen a bunch of times now, where we see a few High Templar, a couple Archons, an Immortal or two all going down. And in isolation, none of those things are game-ending. But throughout the course of the game, yeah, look at the cost efficiency right here for the Zerg. This is not normally what we see. Normally we see Zerg players losing significantly more than Protoss at this point in the game. Well, at the very least, most Zerg players out there. Maybe not necessarily Harstem. Or Serral, rather. Serral's usually very good at taking those traits as effectively as possible. So he does get rid of this hatchery, by the way. Harstem, that is. Yeah, as he sees it going down, he should address it basically within about a half minute or so of it potentially finishing up. Love the split up over here, though. Maybe we can harass this base here from the right. I wonder if that's an option. Obviously, we still don't have any Vipers, do we? No, we don't have any Vipers. That's a bit funky. He's a little afraid of that, though, as we do have... I'm going to back up just a second, sorry. I was talking about the Tempest and checking out if there were any Vipers. So, Harstem once again moves forward here, goes after that base. No cancel this time around here from the Zerg player from Finland, but now the Neural Parasites are coming in. Couple Ultralisks in the mix, too. Lovely play here from Serral. So... Look, this is essentially his hit squad army, right? So, like, rather than going for a big group of Zerglings, He's not just going Zerglings, he's not just going Lurkers, now he's going Ultras, and he's also mixing in Infestors. Overextension right here from Harstem for sure. There's nothing for him to be gained over here other than more neural parasites. Yeah, I feel like that's something, though, that Serral has been refining quite a bit. Do we have an observer in the mix here? Yep, we may just have one. No, we don't. Being able to kill those Infestors would have been really nice. Now, instead, the Archons and Immortals, they find themselves against the Brute Lords. I think Harstem is getting a little over-eager, losing more units than he really wanted to. He's also giving up more of his probes. That I don't mind. Open up more supply for a bigger army. Okay. Looks like the entire Protoss army has once again come together to go for an attack over here. Zealots do manage to get the kill right here over here on that new base. Quite a few Zealots, though, also ended up falling there. Long distance mining probes trying their very best. And honestly, these Ultras, man, such a scary unit. Yep, it's gonna force the recall right here on a pretty big chunk of the Protoss ball. This may once again open up an opportunity, though, for the Brute Lords to move towards the right side. Serral strategically moving very fast in this game. Even though these are scenarios that I can't imagine he's been in that many times, it's clearly something he's been thinking about. Because he knows exactly where he needs to be going and what he needs to be doing. Apparently that's what Serral spends a lot of time doing. I asked him this in the past. I don't know if he was trolling me. But I asked him about his practice. And he says, yeah, I just sit and I think a lot about StarCraft. I guess what he means is it's like almost like an obsession. Where, well, it definitely is an obsession. Where you just focus on one thing all day, every day. If you do that for many years in a row, even when you're not playing the game, you will be making progress. Good move right here from Harstem, though. Once again, activating that mothership's cloaking. Ever since the mothership changed, I think this may be my favorite usage here of the mama ship in any game. Offensive recalls. Activating the cloaking to protect his bases and his units. Lovely stuff right here by Harstem. And rather than taking the gold base of the Zerg, he's decided to take his new expansion over on the left side instead. Now the Ultras and Zerglings, though, they have cycle on over towards the right side. And this is painful. Yep, these units deal so much damage. If they decide to right-click that base, it's gonna go down. Instead, Harstem decides to... Okay, he's thinking about it anyways. He decides to move forward. He's giving up on that base altogether. 31 additional probes end up going down. Probes end up going down. There you go. Gotta enunciate my words. I think that move was a bit too early. I think Harstem should have waited a little bit longer until this Nexus was fully mined out. It would make sense to give up on that base on the right after you secure this one. But it means that the golden minerals are going to be reacquired as well by the Zerg. And he's probably thinking about mining out those mineral fields that you left behind all the way at the 3 o'clock position too. So maybe that's not quite the cost-efficient trade that Harstem was hoping it would be. And right now, yeah, his army is still massive. But his bank is no longer where it once used to be. So Harstem did have an income advantage there for at least a little while. Now it's going to be Serral, though, who will once again grab that advantage. Hold up, what did we do here? I thought he was recalling reinforcements, but instead I think there were some neural parasites on a couple of the units here, and Harstem decided to recall them towards the mama ship instead. Hold up, I just want to see that exchange once again. Okay. Yeah, so here's the neurals, I think, from those infestors. Harstem, where are we going, buddy? And he instantly recalls. Okay, it wasn't even a neural parasite, it was just a fungal growth, and then an attempted neural on the back of it. He's overextending a little too frequently. Yep. Maybe he's surprising himself a little bit too with the way that he's playing here, right? Which at the very least would happen to me. If I were to be in Harstem's shoes here, I'd be like, yo, what? Am I actually doing it? Am I actually winning? Oh my god, I think I'm doing it. And usually that's the point where the game goes horribly wrong. There's the Vipers now finally mixed in as well. 2 carriers end up going down. Lovely play there by Serral. Perfect movement on those Corruptors as well. Flying just far away enough to stay out of range of those Archon shots. Couple more abductions here. The Ultra Zergling Ball continues walking around over on the right side. We do see a recall right now on some of that army. But this immediately opens up an opportunity, indeed, for the Brute Lords. Well, at least to think about going towards the left side of the map. Only 22 workers remain right now for Harstem, which is really not that much. Although very soon, I guess there's only gonna be like 8 mineral fields to mine in total. Serral indeed has taken the base that was previously Harstem's here on the right side of the map. Plus, after all that effort of denying the gold base, Serral has also managed to acquire it. Another abduction over there. Mama Ship does turn down, well, at least a bubble for a little bit, or she throws down a bubble for a little bit. Harstem still maxed, but this is starting to look a little bit more desperate. The problem here is that Serral's army, right? Look at the top left-hand corner. His value of his army is about 10,000 minerals, about 7,500 gas. He's got basically that in the bank. So Harstem doesn't just need to deal with this army. That would have been doable, but he needs to deal with a full follow-up as well. Okay, well, this may be just the best fight he can hope for, though, because he's getting an awful lot of value. A couple storms on the Corruptors would probably not be misplaced. Parasitic Bomb over here getting some damage done as well on the carriers. No splits right there from the Dutchman. Can we get some storms, please, Harstem? We have so many Templar in the mix. Alright, he's moving forward, though. That was not the fight that Serral was hoping for. Serral now reinforcing this with 24 additional Corruptors. 9 Brute Lords are morphing in as well, but they take a while until they are done. And at this point, all of the Interceptors are deployed. Oh, okay, Ultra's also misreadied over here. That's 4 of them, or at least 3 of them, going down for essentially free. It all comes down to the storms right now and the reinforcements. Can we get a nice storm? That is a big storm right over there. A lot of energy was saved up on those Templar. Harstem going for the full bulldozer approach. He now manages to jump on top of a lot of those Brute Lords as well. Another lovely storm. Okay, careful though, you don't want to overextend here. 20 additional Corruptors are coming up. If Harstem can deal with those reinforcing Corruptors right here, right now, he's gonna be in a spot where he can potentially win this game. Serral only has minerals left over in the bank. He can make Queens, Zerglings, maybe Spore Crawlers, but that's about it. So as long as these Corruptors are dealt with, he's gonna be okay. Serral right now, though, has got all of his Corruptors out. 47 of them are out in total. Does he have enough to jump this? Storms are going down on top of the entire Protoss army itself as well. The Archons are trying their very best to just deal as much splash damage as possible. But ultimately, the bank right here for the finisher was ever so slightly too big. And that means that Serral obtains the victory in an amazing game of Protoss versus Zerg. Give Harstem a couple more months. If he keeps improving the way that he has been over the last few, I really feel like he's got a good shot at taking down the very best players in the world.